Hello and welcome to SkaredCast Tactica video. Today we're here once again with the new Dark Eldar Codex, and this is the third video in a series of Tactica videos touching on the different choices in the new book. Today we'll be looking at the Succubus, a witch lord of the Dark Eldar armies of the Dark City. Let's begin. Hello and welcome to another Tactica video. We're talking about the new Dark Eldar Codex, and today we get to chat about the Succubus. So the Succubus are the leaders, or the Succubi are leaders of the witch cults in the Dark City. So even though witches seem to have changed in role, the Succubus itself seems to have gained a bit of light in this release. The Succubi are the ruling elite of the witch cults. They are impossibly live, famously beautiful, and utterly deadly. Collectively known as the Brides of Death, a council of 3 such queens of murder traditionally rule over each cult. Competition between these hellcats is fierce, as they strive to outdo one another with spectacles of violent excess. Unlike the immortal games of the Archons, the queens of the witch cults are far more likely to resolve their feuds with a perfectly executed decapitation than with a twist of the political knife. Succubi are ravishing in their beauty, their supple alabaster flesh clasped within bladed corsets and high-necked skin suits of liquid silk, and their sinuous serpentine grace is almost hypnotic. The arena's crowd demands not only a bloody spectacle, but also one that is pleasing to the most jaded eye. Thus, a succubus will do almost anything to preserve her appearance, including putting dozens of lesser warriors to death and feeding on their last gasps of anguish to maintain a youthful sheen. No succubus is secure in her position without constant proof of her skill. They regularly take the lead in real space raids, not only for the Feast of Pain, but also to hunt the champions of lesser races and defeat them in shows, display, and to show off their sheer skill. So the Succubus is a close combat geared character, pretty much geared to just that. So, of course, I will chat 2 different ways. I'll talk to a newer Archon, or Succubus in this case, about what they are and their different rules and whatnot. And then we'll talk about the different nuances and specific tactica involving the use of a Succubus for the more veteran gamer. So let's begin, shall we? The Succubus is about the same points as they were last time, a little bit more expensive. But I really think that they've kind of come into their own in this new release. So, weapon skill is higher than an Archon. It's 8. Meaning that they are highly skilled at close combat. So, anything with ballistics, weapon skill 3 or less will be hitting them on 5s. So you can run into a bunch of guardsmen and just cut them to shreds without really worrying about their weapon skill. The ballistic skill is a little bit lower than an Archon, ballistic skill 6, Their strength and toughness is the same as a humanoid race of 3, with 3 wounds, like most HQ choices. A very high initiative of 8, which rivals the Archon's initiative of 7. 4 attacks base, very high leadership, almost perfect leadership, and a witch suit, which is a 6+ armor save. So just a t-shirt save after all. Now, it doesn't really matter in combat, but we'll get to that in a second. As for war gear, they come equipped with a splinter pistol, just that's a poison 4+ pistol, a close combat weapon, and a plasma grenades. Remember, a plasma grenade is a shooting weapon, so you can shoot it within 8 inches. It's a blast, strength 4, AP 4, and great to use against tightly packed troops, you know, and better than a pistol by any means, most of the time. Unless you're shooting against a monster creature, in which case you want to shoot the poison pistol. She comes equipped with combat drugs, independent character, of course, you can attach to units, fleet, night vision, which is standard for most Dark Eldar units, and power from pain. Now, I'll be talking specifically about the Dark Eldar specific rules in a separate Tactica video. So if you want to go check that out, wait till it's set up. If it's down the line, it's already set up, there'll be a link, or follow the videos in the playlist. So she does have dodge, so even though her armor save is not very high, in the fight sub-phase, so pretty much in close combat, they have a dodge, so it's a 4+ invulnerable save. Now, unlike, there's this common conception at the moment, it does not work against things like Overwatch. The fight sub-phase is when attacks, like at the start of the initiative step, so initiative 1, initiative 2, initiative 10, initiative 9, initiative 8, that's when the 4+ invulnerable save. But it's different than what it was, because now it can be used against Hammer of Wrath hits, it can be used against tanks that explode during close combat, that sort of things, because it used to be specifically for close combat attacks. Now it's just in the fight sub-phase, wherever in that sub-phase, it's just a 4+ invulnerable save regardless. Which makes them very good at tying up high toughness, killy units that don't have a lot of attacks with their 4+ invulnerable save, that are like monstrous creatures and stuff that have a few attacks that you can just ignore. Okay, so she has a few options. You can give her an Archite Glaive, you can give which, by the way, is great. I really like the Archite Glaive. The Archite Glaive is a special witch weapon. It's a +1 strength, and you can use it single-handedly, or you can use it double-handedly. One of the cool things about using it double-handedly is that it is not a unwieldy weapon. So it is two-handed when it's two-handed, so it doesn't give you the additional attack for close combat. But when you use double-hand, it's +1 strength and AP 2. When you use single-hand, it's AP 3, so like a power weapon, and the strength is the user, so like a power weapon. I think this is the new weapon for a Succubus, simply because of its ability to be used as an AP 2 weapon to take out things like Terminators, or characters with or force invulnerable saves on characters with a 2+ armor save. And because of a very high initiative value, strength value, no, not strength value, but initiative, weapon skill, ballistic skill, she'll be great to go up toe-to-toe with these characters. The invulnerable save helps keep her alive, but you have to be careful. If a character has lots of attacks and a strength 6 or higher, she's going to be in a lot of trouble. So you have to be careful to put her against the right target in order to maximize her capacity as a very cheap but very killy character. Now, she can also have a blast pistol. I don't recommend it. I never have. 15 points for a strength 8 AP2 shot at 6 inches. Those 15 points are not worth it. Buy a blaster for a warrior unit. It's 15 points and it's triple the range. So I highly recommend it there. Don't waste points on characters if you don't need to. Can take haywire grenades. I'm a big fan of haywire grenades on characters, as it allows them to tackle vehicles if needed. Can also take a webway portal, and can take melee weapons, witch cult weapons, and artifacts of cruelty. Melee weapons are an agonizer or a power weapon. If you're going to go for either or, I highly recommend the Archite Glaive regardless. Witch cult weapons, razor flails, hydra gauntlets, Chardonnay and Impaler. The benefits they get, reroll to wound, reroll to hit, or reroll ones to hit and to wound for a moderate point cost, like 5 points. If you're playing a small game, like a kill team, no, not a kill team, because you couldn't use those kill teams, but a small 200, 300, 400 point game, and you don't want to spend much on her, but you want a character that's killy, I don't know, spend 5 points on a Chardonnay and Impaler to reroll ones to hit and to wound, or a razor flail, to reroll wounds, and keep her cheap. That you can do that. But I wouldn't personally do it. I like it on witches, I don't really like it on a succubus. And the artifacts of cruelty. Now, that means that she can take the relics of the Dark Eldar, which opens up a whole new level of tactical choices. So now we're going on to part 2 of the succubus entry. The role of the succubus has changed since last book and this book. Last book, the succubus was, you could just kind of throw in as a cheap venom blade, if you really needed something to go out and you wanted more than a homunculus, less than an archon, she kind of fit in the middle. But she was never really a de facto choice. It was either an archon or a homunculus most of the time, or one of the special characters, Baron, Dux Liscus, Vect. That's no longer a choice, at least at the moment. But I believe the succubus has now found a role within the Dark Eldar Codex. Right? So, she's one of the only characters who can go toe-to-toe to a Terminator. Or a Terminator Lord, or something with a 2+ armor save. And I personally like that a lot. I really think it adds a lot to the army. She is very cheap, doesn't have the access to a shadow field, that in my books, there de facto the shadow field makes the archon my choice, no matter how you put it. But she has one of the highest stats in the game, and combat drugs really help. Sadly it's random, right? So you kind of roll. She's either going to have +1 weapon skill, +1 ballistic skill, +1 strength, +1 toughness, +1 initiative, +1 attack, or +1 leadership. One of those 6 stats every game is going to be higher. Okay, that's good. Weapon skill 9? It's okay, unless she's going up against something really, really tough and she wants like regular marines to hit her on 5s. Ballistic skill 6. That's the one bum one, really. If you become ballistic skill 7 as a succubus, you don't really have any ranged weapons to really use appropriately, except a pistol and a grenade, which by then wouldn't scatter at ballistic skill 7. Strength 4 or toughness 4, those two are very, very useful for a succubus. So, in 2 out of 6 games, on average, you'll get something that is really useful. The +1 strength would stack with the Archite Glaive, so she could be strength 5 AP 2 when attacking with her 4 attacks, or +1 toughness, which then balances into power from pain. First of all, the enemy would need strength 8 to knock you out, like instant kill you, or weapons that cause instant death. And your power from pain, so feel no pain 6+ on turn 2, and feel no pain 5+, like feel no pain from turn 3 onwards, means that she'll be able to take those feel no pain saves against a lot more weapons, unless like autocannons and multi-lasers and other strength 6 and 7 weapons that would normally kill her outright. Initiative 9, there's not much that's initiative 8 or 9 in the game. She's usually going first with initiative 8 anyway, but you never know if you're playing Slanesh or something crazy and you need it. Well, there you have it. Or +1 attack, 5 attacks can be very useful, and +1 leadership to leadership 10. Okay, I could see that working, but leadership 9 is pretty high anyway, and if she's losing combat or having to take morale tests, she's probably not in a good spot in the first place. So that's the basic generic overview. Now, one of the biggest changes between the old book and the new book for you veteran gamers is that she has access to the relics giving us, for the first time ever, the ability to give a witch a better save than a 4+. And that, of course, is with the Armor of Misery, which is one of the special upgrades that you can give like characters in the book. So it's Ghost Plate armor. By Ghost Plate armor, I mean it gives a 4+ armor save and a 6+ invulnerable save, and all enemy units within 6 inches suffer a -2 to their leadership skill. That's kind of cool. Not gonna lie, I like it a lot. It means that she can be out in the open and not get blasted to bits by bolters or anything that's AP5, which is very prevalent in the game. Which means if she's running in a raider or a venom with a crew of folks around her, she's not gonna, like, when they get out of the raider, they get exploded out of it, she's not as likely to get completely blasted. The enemy has to focus some different things at her. Because usually, when people see witches outside of a transport, they just shoot them to death. There's nothing else. People don't like witches getting into combat with them, ever. But use that to your advantage. As a tactical general, you should always do things that your opponent doesn't want you to do. So, giving Succubus the Armor of Misery, it isn't that expensive. A Archite Glaive gives you a very decent, very low cost HQ character. So I highly recommend it. And last but not least, I want to talk about the Webway portal. I think I'm going to do an entire Tactica on the Webway portal use, because I believe the Webway portal is going to define the way that Dark Eldar are used on the table. It provides such an amount of tactical flexibility for the army in general, as well as tactical flexibility to the allies either included or used Dark Eldar as an ally, that there's so many different variables it needs an entire video just to itself. What do you think about the Succubus? Did you use a Succubus in the old book? Are you excited to try out a Succubus in this book? Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And if you do go for a Webway portal on the Succubus, what unit would you bring them in with? You know, what unit would you do? Personally, I don't think the Webway portal fits with a Succubus. I much prefer giving her a Raider and an Ether Sail, and just running her in a unit of, say, witches, just running them up the flank and forcing the enemy to have to deal with them somehow. So let me know what you think. This is Skari. Thanks a lot for watching this tactical video. I really appreciate your comments. And stay tuned for the next one, which will be happening soon.